Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Columbus, an inclusive spiritual community of people who support each other in their personal search for truth and meaning. I'm Rick Spradlin, your service leader this morning, and later on I'll be your presenter, and I'll be presenting The God from Within. Also have some more music from Whittaker Locke by way of video this morning. To begin our service this morning, let's light our chalice. The chalice speaks to us of of reason, tolerance, and freedom, and also compassion, justice, and love. May its flame ever warm and illuminate our lives. And now for our 7 principles today, I just want to call attention to our 5th principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. And in today's talk, I will touch on that just a little bit. But it's important to note that the right of conscience, which includes the right of dissent, we consider that to be actually part of the religion, not just something that we say, well, this is good and it helps our religion. We actually put it in print as part of that religion. And I think that is significant. There are many places that do it informally, but I like that is an official part of Unitarian Universalism. And now this morning's offering will be given and received in the spirit of grateful fellowship. There are many religions in the world. Each of them represents centuries-old traditions of what is good and holy. Some of them are related to older religions still in existence, religions that came before them, while others are related to religions so old that no one even remembers that they once were. Each of these religions seeks to give name to, understand, and explain the mysteries of life. In the Vedic period, Hindus said that there were 333 million gods. That number was based on their best estimate of the world population at that time. Today, that figure will be closer to 7 billion. The basis for this number is the belief that each of us has a spark of the divine within us, a unique God inside us. Neuroscientists have been trying to figure out how our brains interpret the world around us. One thing they believe that they have revealed is that the way our brains work means that we do not see reality directly, but only the interpretations and images that our mind creates. Neuroscientist Chris Frith says in his book, Making Up the Mind, How the Brain Creates Our Mental World, he says, even if all our senses are intact and our brain functioning normally, we do not have direct access to the physical world. It may feel as if we have direct access, but this is an illusion created by our brain. So the Buddha was onto something when he said, everything is illusion. When the Buddha said, all is illusion, he didn't mean that nothing is real. I think he was saying that our minds project images onto reality, and those images created by our minds are illusions. But when the things we see, solid, liquid, and gas, are taken down to the subatomic level, they don't really exist. I think that's what he was saying. But I'm not entirely sure if that's really how it is either. It seems to me that reality is more like an onion. I think there are layers of reality that overlap one another. Thanks to the invention of the electron microscope, we are able to peer into the reality that is smaller than the one we normally view. Thanks to telescopes beyond Earth's orbit, like the newly launched James Webb telescope, which, by the way, is 100 times more powerful than the Hubble telescope, we are beginning to see images of our greater reality. But these are only images created by our minds. We create our version of reality based on scale. The human mind creates a human-sized reality. An elephant creates an elephant-sized reality, and an ant creates one to its own size. But they don't reflect true reality. That, for us, is impossible to perceive. Our brain creates these images and interpretations out of our past experiences and the memories which are stored in our brain. And since no two people ever have exactly the same experience, the same memories, no two people can interpret anything in exactly the same way. Many of you are interpreting what I'm saying in completely different ways, varying from interest to boredom. These differences in interpretation give each of us a slightly different delusion that we call reality. Our interpretations can vary greatly from one to another, and some of us try to create interpretations that are as close as possible to the truth as we can make them, while others are perfectly content to create interpretations that match their fantasies. Now, most of us live somewhere in between those two. But whatever similarity our beliefs have with the truth is purely by coincidence. How we interpret the things that we observe, as we said, is based on past experiences, and that's why it's so difficult to be a child. The less experience we have, the harder it is to make knowledgeable interpretations. And that's why it's so dangerous. When people claim to be in possession of absolute knowledge. All that anyone can possess is an interpretation of knowledge based off different experiences. That's why there are almost as many interpretations of the Bible as there are Christians. Biblical passages about breaking the bonds of servitude weren't given more weight in interpretation than passages condoning slavery in the United States until after a bloody civil war had already settled the dispute. Yes, there were Christians on both sides of every social issue our country has faced, but the majority in the South, including my own family, favored slavery. But then after the war, the Bible was interpreted differently. And yet today, I have friends who sincerely believe that it was the church that ended slavery. If you hold the Bible up to your ear, it doesn't say anything. It's nothing until first you read it, bring in your life's experiences, including the interpretations that other people have given you, and then it says something to you. That's true of the Bible, the Quran, scriptures of any. Religions that don't have scriptures still have people who give opinions on that. Again, their opinion means something different to a different person. So no two people ever have the same religion, regardless of how many times they recite creeds in an attempt to form spiritual unity. For some, the uncertainty of Unitarian Universalism can be a turnoff. We don't give people ready-made answers about life's questions. We simply encourage people to develop an informed conscience and offer our 7 principles as a guide that is intentionally written in broad strokes so as not to encourage rigid dogmatism. Our freedom of religion depends on a given amount of uncertainty. Choices only exist in a state of uncertainty. We're responsible for making our own choices, and we're responsible for the consequences of our choices. We know that dogmas and creeds would only serve to dumb down our friends and members. It would stifle their spiritual questioning. The right to question is more sacred to us than the sweet candy illusion of giving answers with certainty on subjects that we cannot possibly know with certainty. All we think we know comes from our interpretations within. The only God that we can know in any sense of the word is known from within. Therefore, the only God is the God from within. And thank you for listening. Okay, we extinguish the chalice here that it might glow gently in our hearts as we leave this place. And would everyone please join me for our closing words. With unity of spirit, we go our ways in universal fellowship until we meet again. Thank you.